Tons of price predictions. Yep, $1,000 per XRP. That's easy to reach. Now, that's a beginning, not an end. Everybody wants to know when. We don't have when, but we do know soon. And we're going to give our reasoning. All of this video is going to be the reasoning why we can see $1,000 per XRP. That's going to be thanks to a Basel III regulation framework that's in place. Max has dug up some more stuff for us to comb through. He is such a great researcher. I love the man. And Max, you've done a good job again, so let's talk about it. Hopefully you're not leaving your cryptocurrency on the exchanges. Exchanges can fail and get hacked. If you don't own the keys to your coin, then you're not in custody of your coin. Someone else is. Be sure to get yourself a cold storage wallet. I suggest the Decent wallet after having owned several different wallets. I like the Decent wallet. I like the easy access with the thumbprint. I love the features inside, how it Bluetooths with my phone and gives me a large screen. I also like how I can order two. I use one for a moon bag, coin I'm not going to touch for maybe years. I use the other one as just my regular wallet. You can order two for $219, that's $99 off. Or you can order one if you wish. When you order, your shipping is free if you live in the US, the UK, the EU, or Japan. Order one today. I think you'll be satisfied. To order now and get the discount, you can use the link that's appearing above my head. There's also a link in the description, and generally there's one at the end of all my videos. Go ahead and order now. You'll be satisfied.
Well, I can't take all full credit here, so the real credit that is deserved here goes to our brother in the community, Smoke. By all means, his page is going to come up on your screen. Please give people like this a follow. But basically speaking, we're going to jump into the first part about this straight from Smoke. And as we full screen this, he could be followed. And I just want to highlight him real quick over at SMQKEDQG. So Smoke mentions specifically that XRP will become less volatile as demand stabilizes through its use as a bridge currency. That gets brought up all the time. About a world bridge currency, right? Until you're blue in the face. But once banks hold XRP on their balance sheets, guys, gals, it's game changer. Its utility will drive consistent demand, allowing its price to stabilize at a higher level. All right. So why must XRP reach a higher price? That's why you're tuned in, right? Well, a higher price significantly increases the network's liquidity, and we're going to show you a breakdown of how that works. This will enable XRP to handle larger transactions efficiently. Here's an example. At $1,000 per XRP, transferring 1 billion would only require 1 million XRP. Again, David Schwartz talked about this. But in contrast, if at $1 per XRP, it would take 1 billion XRP to achieve the same transaction. This higher price point allows the network to scale and meet institutional demand effectively. I'll say it again. Institutional demand. Ripple actively aims to provide banks with on-demand liquidity, aka ODL, a goal that depends on XRP achieving a higher market cap and price. In short, a significant higher price is not just beneficial but essential for XRP to succeed as a global liquidity tool. Will, your thoughts in regards to Smoke's research?
Absolutely. Yeah, he's absolutely right. That's just the way it is. It's not really like a right and wrong. It's kind of like, well, yeah, there's going to have to be a lot of movement of money in order for there to be liquidity. And again, not beating a dead horse, beating a very live XRP is this statement. The banks don't care about the price. They don't care if they're buying 1 billion XRP or 1 million XRP to move $1 billion. It doesn't matter to them. So as the demand grows and the price goes up, they don't care. They're just going to still be moving that money. And these thousands of non-disclosure contracts that we know Ripple has, not to mention all of the other contracts that we know that they have with people around the world moving the money. Wow, all this money is going to be moving through the system, and it's going to be driving that price of XRP up and up and up. It's not about the retail people like Bitcoin, amazingly enough. We've seen 100,000 and over 100,000 per Bitcoin. And that's institutions, banks, retail, and that's just for store of value. Well, this use case, we got all kinds of people that also are holding it for store of value. How many people I've heard say, I'm never going to sell. I'm going to live. They got you got different exit strategies and ways to use XRP to get money. You can use it as collateral and other things. Many people are not going to sell their XRP. So here you go, man. 1,000 XRP, that's definitely in the scope of things.
Thank you for your take on that. The next part we're going to jump into with Smoke's research is this. And as it comes up on your screen, it is also this key area about what? Well, it's understanding what is presented here in the specific highlights, but it's understanding that Ripple argues that its XRP coins had initially been exposed to a certain amount of volatility. Some of you guys have posted this out in the community a while back, but this is due to an increase in demand and the growth of the coin's ecosystem. Look what it also says in the highlight from Smoke. However, they believe that this will even out as the demand becomes more constant due to a steady demand for XRP as a bridge currency. It's not highlighted here, but I want to read this in regards to IBM. IBM is trying to go a step further by establishing a stable digital asset, so-called stablecoins. This is done, for instance, by linking the price to a leading currency such as the US dollar, the euro, and even the British pound. Or, and here is the highlight from the thumbnail, everybody, where we ask XRP gold, silver, stellar, XDC copper, quant is what? Look what it says, the gold price. Because we know that when it comes to these reserve banks of the world, they hold gold bullion, literally. Right? Big fans to anybody's watched Die Hard with a Vengeance, right? What was Hans Gruber's cousin Simon after? He was after all that gold bullion in those banks. So IBM is trying to settle financial transactions in fiat currencies as well as in any digital currency, or to also allow the digital currency as bridging currency. Hence why Ripple is referred to as a future world bridge currency. Would this mean a bigger commercial scope for the commercial, or I should say, cryptocurrencies as their demand rises? Again, your thoughts on the matter, Mr. Will Fix.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was sitting here thinking while you were reading that, what the scenario is surrounding XRP transactions from institutions and banks. That's the equivalent to in the retail world of massive whales buying and selling gigantic amounts of coin, because that's what they are. A bank's going to be a whale if it buys $1 billion worth for moving money, or $10 million worth. So you're going to have thousands of whales trading ginormous amounts of money in XRP for the ODL, and the buying and selling of huge amounts is the most liquid idea you can think of, because then, well, especially us retail people, if we're going to sell, if I'm going to sell 50,000 of my XRP and jump on the market, that's going to be easy, right? It's going to be easy for me to sell because the banks are moving way more than that. So it's a pretty exciting proposition that when this thing kicks off and it's really going, it's going to be fascinating to see these enormous amounts of money going on constantly every day, thousands of giant transactions all over the world. Don't you agree? Isn't that going to be a spectacle?
I absolutely agree 100% when it comes to that. I mean, I think it's more than just a giant spectacle. It's understanding that banks and institutions are really going to be using apparently this particular world bridge asset, to say the least. And if anything, it's going to leverage the technologies of what they have into place. I mean, say what you want. How does this all come into fruition? Well, for me, we're going to give you that answer here in a bit, but just a little taste of that here to come, and back, of course, to the one and only Smoke. What does he have to continue this particular thesis on the matter with his research? Well, what's going to come up across your screen is this. And basically, he gets into the nitty gritty and the weeds of what matters here. What are we talking about? Well, it's basically this. It's the highlights, everybody. Economic implications of a universal bridge asset. Banks currently incur significant infrastructure costs processing cross-border payments, employing Ripple and XRP, as it can help banks eliminate the lower of these specific costs. What's he referring to? Well, it's foreign exchange. The cost of spread for the purchase and sale of a currency pair in the wholesale market at institutional rates. This spread can be between fiat currencies or between fiat currency and XRP held on banks' balance sheet. My goodness, if you guys saw a previous outline that Will and I released, we were talking about the balance sheet in regards to Bank of America. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But back to smoke. When XRP is used, the model assumes that banks hold XRP on their balance sheets and provide their own liquidity for FX transactions. Third-party market makers can also be used. Now check this out. Here's your hint. Basel III makes this happen. The opportunity cost to any institution of holding lower yielding, high quality liquid assets as designed by pending Basel III regulations. Those pending regulations, everybody, is coming here in 2025. And like it says, this means this goes against credit exposure during the in-flight period. Does it cite SWIFT? The answer is yes. Cash management is distinct from the liquidity cost of capital locked in nostro accounts and pertains to transaction costs for balancing via SWIFT. So again, I think this is all coming together. And again, just some of your thoughts in that regard to the research from Smoke.
Man, yeah, Smoke really knocks it out of the park. Yeah, I mean, I just have to agree with what it said there. I mean, it is what it is. These banks and institutions that are moving this giant amount of money around is going to bring a stability, because when the peak amount is reached, it's probably not going to change much from a peak amount, if you know what I'm saying. If XRP goes to 10,000 a coin because that's how much money was needed for the asset to be big enough to handle all of the transactions taking place, well, it may back down after a while, but the price is still going to be 10,000 per XRP in that example, because it's already set at that particular price. So it won't necessarily fall, because banks, even though the system may not need 10,000 per XRP, let's pretend for a moment it drops to 8,000, and that would handle it. Well, there's no need for the price to drop, because again, the banks don't care about the price. They're just going to continue to be buying it. That's going to create a stability out of the peak points. And that stability, it'll be hard for retail to move it. It's going to be for banks and institutions to move it. And just to further that analogy, I used an analogy one time. Pretend you have a hose, like a water hose, that is flexible. And, so you got a flexible hose that can expand to, whatever size needs to be for the flow. Going in one end, you got 20 hoses representing 20 contracts with banks and institutions. We know there's thousands, but so we say there's 20, and there's 20 on the other side that we're receiving. Well, if the center hose can handle maybe two of those hoses on at once, it's going to have to expand for the third. So if all of them are full and it expands to the full size to handle all 20, if that representing the price of XRP, if that demand on one side goes down, the hose isn't necessarily going to shrink, because the banks and institutions are still buying at that price, because again, they don't care. So that maintains the price. So that's what I see out of all this. I see where he's talking about stability, and I understand that in that framework.
Absolutely. Listen, everybody, we're going to talk about a little bit more of that demand that Will was referring to. So let's pull this also up on your screen. Again, excellent research from the one and only Smoke. And let's pull this up. Here's a little bit more of this elaboration for a visual to be presented. I want to talk about this. Some of you guys bring up the whole thing of, well, in order for XRP to basically have a high value, It would have to have insane market cap, and there's not enough money in the world, you guys point out, in which the price could be super high. Let's jump into that narrative, because me personally, again, nothing against some of you guys that have a different point of view. We need to get back to the whole idea of agreeing to disagree. So, do we agree or do we disagree in that regard? If anything, maybe Will bring back his AC/DC segment that we all miss, but nonetheless, I want to point this out for you guys. It is, again, back to smoke with the research, because what you see on your screen is that in the illustration that dates back to 2017, it points out that, for example, when XRP was over $5.50 per coin at the beginning of 2018, Chris Larson's Ripple co-founder and former CEO was among the richest people in the world due to his shares of XRP. It says further, if XRP has a higher value, it increases the value of the solution because it increases liquidity on the network. With a higher value XRP can convey a higher value than other particular currencies, as cited by Hamilton back in 2018. For me personally, Will, I look at it from this perspective that as XRP's price inflates, well, for one, that create more demand for ODL, the main, in my opinion, highlight of Ripple XRP for institutional use. And as that balloon gets bigger as far as market cap, well, as we'll show you here in a bit, Ripple has mentioned that we will start using more of that on-demand liquidity to provide that, of course, to the institutions. Isn't that the whole point? Again, your thoughts in regards to the matter of the research that's presented.
Well, when I think of market cap, the people that get it wrong believe the money is piled somewhere, that the market cap money is money that the institution, bank, company, stock, that XRP is holding on to that much money. But that's not how it works. That money actually doesn't exist. It is a pretend money, as if all of the coins sold for the whatever price it is at the time, which we know is impossible because the price would bottom out. Also, the price didn't get there with all of the coins receiving all of the money as the price increased. In other words, Chris Larson doesn't have $2 in the coin, in each coin. He doesn't have that. He may not have anything in it. So $0. So a lot of these coins had no money put in them, but now they're worth more if they were sold, and only if partial of them were sold. So the market cap idea, that is money that doesn't actually exist, and people believe that money exists somewhere. So they're like, there's not that much money in the world. No, it's actually just a figure that is just the multiple of coins plus today's price. But today's price didn't get there by 100% of the coins being paid for by that price. And so to figure it any other way is just incorrect. So market cap is irrelevant. But what is relevant is its placement. Is its placement. I mean, we're number 3. XRP is number 3 right now. So that's the only place that really it becomes relevant. What's relevant is how much is each token and how much liquidity is there for me to sell it. Well, XRP is going to have both a high price and the liquidity for you to offload your coin if you want to.
Great perspective. Thanks for sharing that, Will. We have 2 final things we're going to jump into to conclude the research from Smoke. And the last part is going to come up from him on your screen here in a moment. And basically it's this. As you guys saw in the thumbnail, we did mention the whole thing of XRP and gold. Why is that important? Well, back to Smoke's research. Teleporting gold. Sounds crazy, right? So why should banks care? Because Ripple plans to use XRP to solve their liquidity problems. That's pretty blunt and to the point. And look what it says. This dormant cash is all the more wasteful because in the world of Basel III, which we'll show you here in a moment, it counts as yet another balance sheet asset, which basically speaking, is against which a bank has to hold cash to cover its liabilities. Ripple's big idea is to use XRP once its market cap gets high enough and it is being traded heavily enough to provide banks with liquidity on demand. Again, I want you guys to realize that when we bring up this whole notion, for example, how in the world we can see, this price inflate, if you will, again, on demand liquidity. For me, it's like, yeah, there's RLUSD and that's significant. But when we talk about the real institutional adoption, Ripple provides a real solution with ODL that the banks definitely need. If anything, they want it. Your closing thoughts before we get into that press release from the BIS, Will.
Well, when I think of on-demand liquidity, here's kind of what that is. Our friend Greg Ballou gave both you and I some currencies from around the world, in a small gift that he gave to us, which was awesome. He's a great guy. By the way, what's up, Greg? Thanks for all your attention on our pages. But if I took some of that money and I wanted to convert it to a dollar, I would have a problem. I'd have to go from bank to bank to bank. So the current system, I'm explaining what ODL really is. So with only a few banks having huge amounts of money in all the currencies of the world, or between all of the banks, all of the currencies of the world, when someone shows up and they want to convert and use that money, there has to be a huge pile of it there. So that's the liquidity that they have. So only the huge banks had the liquidity to do cross-border transactions and to convert money from one form to another, from one country's currency to another. Most of that happened with the dollar. It goes from a currency to the dollar and then from the dollar to another currency. But still, nevertheless, those piles of money had to be there. Well, XRP will have the liquidity of all of the money that could be in the system because all of the currencies can purchase XRP, and all of the currencies that purchase that XRP can be sold for any of the currencies in the same mix. So the liquidity is off the charts, really. All those transactions that are going to be taking place is in all of the transactions through the Bank of International Settlements or however they're taking place. XRP, it's taking, instead of having all the currencies of the world in piles in the different banks that are charging the smaller banks fees to be able to perform the transactions, instead of all those piles, it'll just be one giant pile of XRP that can be any currency. So that's what the ODL of XRP offers to the world trading, is that liquidity that anyone can buy it with any currency and anyone can sell it for any other currency. It's amazing. It's a great idea, by the way, isn't it?
It absolutely is a great idea, and I'm glad that, this is something that they clearly have initiated and put into motion years ago with their original white paper. In closing, we're going to bring you over to the press release from the Bank of International Settlements, the central bank of central banks, to say the least. And here it is. Yes, it was only about a couple months old, but again, a lot of this stuff flies under the radar when it comes to research being presented. So, as you see from this press release, Basel Committee reaffirms expectation to implement Basel III, finalizes guidelines to strengthen banks' counterparty credit management, and progress work to strengthen supervisory effectiveness. And again, the key highlights is this. It's how the whole Basel Committee on Banking Supervision met, well, back in November, but to understand how they're going to address the risk of global banking system and to discuss a range of policy and supervisory initiatives. And what do we see here? It's that implementation of just that, their framework of the Basel III regulatory, of course, framework. So look what it says. It mentions that as part of regulatory consistency assessment program, the committee reviewed and approved the assessment reports on the implementation of the net stable funding ratio. Again, when I think about like stable coins and, again, where RLUSD stands out, this is all getting pounded home. But again, funding ratio and large exposure of frameworks by, of course, Korea. We've seen what, Korea's stance in that regard when it comes to not just XRP, but some of these other assets. But again, I want you guys to see some of these key things because they reference what happened 2023. They reference the policy going forward. And at the end of the day, I think, if anything, we need to understand that they have to finalize the guidelines. So this is being implemented apparently into the framework for clarity and regulations moving forward for 2025. I think this is a big win moving forward. And Will, I know you've been sharing quite a bit in that regard for the outline, but I guess you could say the final closing thoughts in regards to Basel III, Ripple XRP, and let's face it, the whole market moving forward, sir.
Man, what it's telling me is 2025 is going to be amazing. We covered ISO 20022 and the dates of October and December, what's happening there with mandates. Now we have these other things being implemented and regulations that are coming due, and the ending of lawsuits and all kinds of clarity in different forms. Clarity as far as the SEC being for us and not against us, and clarity as far as regulations being passed. Now we got Basel III. We have all of the banks given the outline of how much of the different assets they can hold. By the way, that's on a quarterly basis. If they can hold as much as they want and send it and use it, and just at the end of the quarter they can't hang on to it. It has that, but they can move as much as they want. But with all of these different things coming into play, see how fast it's going? I mean, mass adoption is around the corner. I mean, all of last year we talked about it. I mean, to nauseum, that one day it's going to happen. We'll be out of this 40 and 50 cent range. And man, it just went on and on and on and on and on. And now we're getting tons of things lined up that the clarity is going to be there. And these assets are going to take off. It's a very exciting time. It's going to be a great year.
I think it's going to be the biggest year ever, personally. This will be basically my second bull run. For some of you guys, you've been around a lot longer than even myself and Will. But whatever the case be, if you guys appreciate the content, simply do us a favor, like, comment, and hopefully we earned your subscription if you're new. And with that also said, here's your key word if you listen to the entire outline, and that is these three key letters, ODL, as in on-demand liquidity. And we'll know that you listened to the entire outline. On behalf of myself, Will Fix, thanks again for listening. As the saying goes, know what you have, know why you hold it. The research trumps FUD 110%. We'll see you on the next one. Over and out.